Hey everyone, I'm Ian Harrington, co-founder of Omens Agency. In the 6+ years we've had of experience in working in e-commerce and helping brands scale like Manscaped, Ballast, Sheath, we've come across a series of questions that many founders generally ask when just getting started. How do I scale efficiently? How do I make over $1 million in revenue? How do I do both of those as fast as possible? Today we're talking with Brian Kirk, founder of Ballast. He has a tremendous wealth of experience in starting a brand as well as marketing, and I'm sure he's going to answer a lot of the questions that founders have just getting started. Here's our interview with Brian.
Welcome to the show. We are big fans of, the brand, what you've built at Ballast, and obviously we work together. I've always found you to be super informational and, a great leader.
Flattered. This is
Yeah.
cool to be part of, episode one. So thank you for having me. It's very cool.
Ballast beach pillows. How do you go about explaining the product?
So like you, I was in advertising for a number of years, over a decade, but I've always had invention ideas. I love to lay on the beach. It's like, it's great to have a chair, but if I want to sit on, I can sit in my living room. It's like, problem is it's not as comfortable as it could be because you have nothing to rest your head on spring break with the family, got my head on, laying down. And I had balled up my towel like I've always done. And I couldn't get comfortable. Why am I trying to turn this towel into a pillow when I could just have a pillow for the beach? And the only thing that was coming up were like throw pillows for like your beach home. It's like, life's a beach. And,
Yeah.
just right at that moment, I got the idea for, the Ballast beach pillow, which is an inflatable pillow, making it waterproof, but with an attached pouch that you can fill with a little sand if you need to. It's going to weigh it down. You go for a stroll, go for a swim, come back, it's still there. Also allows it to clip on a chair. So it doesn't matter if you like to lounge on the beach or on a chair, it's going to, take care of you either way. And it just worked, it worked in my mind.
If your product isn't solving a problem that people already have, it's going to be really hard to sell that. Like you have an extra hurdle. It's still really hard because you're taking that risk of like, oh, I see the problem, but are people going to actually understand that?
I never set out to start a business. So I was never going to be the person that like did a market analysis and found like a huge total addressable market and was like, let's come up with some ingenuity that, let's take kind of the best selling version and tweak it and, and try and steal market share. Like that's smart business. Like that's what business people do. You know what I mean? Like the only reason I launched a business is because I found something that didn't exist and I wanted to create it. You know what I mean? Like I wanted it myself and I was going to make it for myself no matter what. But also that's what excited me. That's like where I got really kind of energized, solving a problem that no one else had. And there's a product adoption life cycle. There's no way to shortcut it. Certain brands do, and they call it unicorns, but those, it's funny. They don't call like those juggernaut brands like stallions. You know what I mean? Because stallions exist. Like unicorns don't exist. It's like a mythical creature. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Right.
Totally. Yeah.
Right. Product adoption life cycle. You start with innovators, and then you go to early adopters. And innovators or early adopters are, it's a sliver of the market, and those are the people who are trendsetters. You know what I mean? Like most people don't want to stand out. Most people want to blend in. And so finding the people who are desperate for the new stuff, that are seeking out the new stuff, that want to be the first to try new things, and are vocal about those things, if you can excite them. That's the risk. The real risk is, can this pass the muster of an innovator? You got to go from the innovators to kind of the early adopters who are, a little bit more risk tolerant, but still, but the majority of just people, they call it the early majority, and they're the ones that don't want to be made fun of because they're
trying something new.
Trend setting, right? Once they have that light bulb moment, life is great. Still surprises me that I haven't had anyone be like, well, that's stupid. Yeah, but no, you get the people that are like, wow, that'd make a great like concert cushion. And I'm like, I guess, but so would a concert cushion. You know what I mean? Like, why don't we take my beach pillow and use it as those are already probably better cushions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I wonder if I could like sit on that in my kayak. I'm like, you totally could sit on the kayak. It's not what it's for.
Was this tough to make, and like how many iterations, and like what's that process like for a brand that's actually like doing it right?
From the realm of imagination into the material world is difficult. Like writing is difficult. Getting an idea into a physical thing that people can hold and touch, and you know what I mean. I didn't appreciate how hard it was going to be. Creating something it's inherently messy. And it's really just disheartening at first. You have to get comfortable with it. And the reason you have to get comfortable with it is ideas are perfect. Whatever, that vision you have in your mind is just, like the way you picture it, it's almost impossible to make that version of it. I mean, it really is impossible to make that version of it. And I think there's a quote that's like, creation is the act of killing perfect ideas style. And you think you're failing at first. You're like, how come I can't get this? You know what I mean? How come I can't get it there? You can't. No one can. You know what I mean? And you have to be comfortable with that reality. I couldn't even find a domestic factory that could do a prototype of this product. Then it's like, so how do you find a reputable, factory resource when you don't live in that world? And so getting an alignment around the real vision, convincing them, or inspiring them to want to put in that work, but also you have to have machines that can do it. I didn't know anything about any of what I'm saying now when I went into it. I had to learn all of this on the fly, and you have to make adjustments. You have to, come to those realizations and those realities, and just, and make concessions or push for what you really want. And it's a really difficult process. It's people look at products and they're like, oh yeah, I've had ideas. It's like, yeah, we all have. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just getting that idea made is you have to really, it's a lot of work.
Would that have deterred, do you think, the product that you made had you had that information prior, though? Maybe not knowing something and just like going at it with like a bit of a naive lens has always allowed for more, creative work to flourish, or just, learning those aspects from a different person. I think is really a huge skill too, of like just being a founder of anything. So, obviously, again, we've worked together and making content. Like initially, even, was the thought of like, how am I going to explain this to people to buy online? Right. Like that's also a whole challenge in itself. Like what were your first like instincts there? Obviously you come from a marketing background, but was it, hey, I need to like create this in a problem solution type format that's like visual? I'm curious, and like how that, has also evolved over time, and what results you found too. Because I think we think one thing and then you try something else, you're like, oh, that's it, like that worked.
But problem solution has been the framework that really got us off the ground. Peers that I have who have interesting products, but they're familiar products. Let's say they're, a type of a backpack or a type of,
Mhm.
there's cool functionality and features to it that are maybe, novel, but it's still like people see a backpack, they're like, right. You know what I mean? Like you can't, they're not going to be nearly as interested in it as you think they are, but when someone sees a beach pillow, at least, that's been my experience so far, the application of it is inherently novel. And so we can get away with kind of just more things because it's just, it kind of grabs people's attention because it's something that they've never seen before.
Was there like a channel that, I'm sure this took some experimentation with, where eventually you felt that Ballast was like, okay, it's going to work on this channel initially, and then we're going to branch out? Or was it more of like a omni-channel approach from the beginning? Like, let's kind of spread ourselves out and see what works.
There's so many different approaches, and there's different, pros and cons to each, approach. I 1000% initially off the jump was omni-channel. First thing I did was I went to a wholesale trade show. And the real reason I did that is it was for validation. I was like, what am I missing here? You know what I mean? And I just figured, I was going to this trade show, and people would come up and be like, oh, one of these again? Like, buddy, like 11 people have tried this thing. It doesn't work. You know what I mean? I was just like, what, and thankfully it was the opposite. Like really the biggest kind of where we found our first initial attraction was through Amazon. So it was a marketplace thing. I mean, if you're looking at where to sell a product, go to where the biggest number of shoppers are, And so, and I didn't launch Amazon first, but I might as well have, I mean, I launched my own website. But the real kind of traction moment was through Amazon, and not only just because I got the visibility and I actually got the shoppers and I started to get transactions and purchases and revenue and money, but going back to innovation, the whole industry is starved for innovation. I mean, all innovation right now takes place in the tech sector. You know what I mean? Like you don't really see a lot of innovation in hard goods and, in physical products and consumer goods, maybe a little bit in, in grocery, but not so much in just like, lifestyle products.
Yeah.
And so I got a lot of help from that because with Amazon specifically, we got invited to participate in what they call the Launchpad program, which is, exactly that. They look for brands that would show up on Shark Tank that, are innovative and, doing something new. And they actually invest in those brands to kind of give them marketing exposure that isn't offered to just anyone on the marketplace. We actually got a grant from Amazon, a $10,000 grant, and in the very early stages they only give out 25 a year. I don't even know if they still do it, but it's called, it was
That's
an innovation
amazing.
grant. Yeah, it was meaningful. No strings
Yeah.
attached. It wasn't ad credits.
That's incredible.
I know. So it was those little things that really helped make me feel like I had something. You know what I mean? That that's where the innovation could help you. You know what I mean? Is if people are starved for it, they recognize it and they want to support it and they want to profit out.
Was there ever times where you're like, man, this could not work, and I could have to backtrack on this?
You just have to need to do it. You have to need to do it. If you want to do it or you think it's going to be, you have to do it. You're going to have to wear all the hats, and you're not going to be good at all the jobs. Roles that are essential and critically important, the worst person in the room has to do them, and that's you. So I placed my first factory order before anyone I'd ever heard the word COVID, because all the bottlenecks, the cost of shipping, 10x. Getting this off the ground, I tell people there weren't hurdles, there were dead ends.
I definitely agree with that. Again, just from my own personal and what we do here at Omens is you have to have the drive to want to do this. Otherwise, also the work just isn't good.
It's the instinct of breathing.
What's next for Ballast? We talked about you guys getting REI, which is awesome.
The whole mission here, I just want to do the idea justice. I cherish ideas, and ideas are gifts from who knows where. It's like you can't go to the idea gym and exercise your idea muscle and get the great idea, on command. It's like I don't buy a lot of stuff, so it's not like I'm just trying to create more junk or whatever else, but I truly believe this belongs. I know it upgrades and enhances the experience of being at one of the most remarkable places on the planet, just being outdoors in general. You know what I mean? The longer you can stay there, the better. And you're going to stay there longer by being comfortable and being, relaxed and being, and so I think justice to this idea is getting it, mass adoption and just, commonly used. And then I can feel like I've done the job.
There's a lot of gratification to that too, right? Of just starting something that has weight, following through with it.
At the end of the day, whether you're selling in a store or you're selling on your own website or you're selling on Amazon, advertising is going to be the biggest lever you can pull to get customers. And it's such a significant investment that if not done right, it could sink the business. So the instinct is to play safe. It's like, this product will sell itself. The people you're trying to reach with your ad message aren't trying to be advertised to. They're trying to be entertained. What subverted traditional advertising was influencer marketing, because that was the anti-advertising. But now that's what Unilever's using as their playbook. They're spending $30 billion on an influencer program.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's become the baseline.
That's now ubiquitous. That's advertising. The best investment, the best way you can invest your ad spend is by being creative. Coming to experts like you, whose whole job is to, in just instincts are, how to market, how to creatively market brands, get them to stand out in the minds of consumers. You have to get their attention first. You have to get their attention, and you have to have a lingering impression. The product's not going to do that. The creativity is going to do that.
You got in this to take risks that if you're going to take a big swing at something, do it through the creative, excellent note. And thanks for sharing your knowledge, with me and hopefully a few people listening out there.
Likewise. No, this is great. And I can't wait to do more work together.
I hope you found this interview educational and came away with something that you can apply to your business. If you're interested in learning more about e-commerce and how Omens Agency could help your brand scale and succeed, please reach out. We'd love to chat.